Okay, question 2 on the functions test. Now we're told that the function g of x is defined by g of x is x squared minus 8x add 7, where x can be any real number so long as it is strictly greater than 4. Find the inverse g of x and state its domain and range. So what I'm going to do first of all is we're told what the domain is. I'm going to find the range of the regular function g of x, and that is then going to tell me the domain and range of the inverse because we just flip them around. So looking at this, we've got that g of x is x squared minus 8x add 7. So I can factorize that to be x minus 7, x minus 1, and that tells me that for my graph, I'm going to have a graph that looks something like that, passing through at 1 and at 7. Now, as my domain has to be strictly greater than 4, if I've got the point 4 in here, what I'm saying is that this part of the graph does not exist anymore, or the whole thing doesn't exist anymore. So let's just scribble it out like that. So I'm only looking at the right-hand side of the graph for my potential range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 4 into here, so say g of 4, which is going to be 16 minus 32 add 7. And so 16 minus 32 is minus 16, add 7 is minus 9. So therefore the range g of x has got to be strictly greater than minus 9. Now it cannot equal minus 9 because the domain is strictly greater than 4, so it can't actually take that exact value. So I now know my domain and range for my original function. In order to find the inverse, what we do is we put our original function equal to y, and then we rearrange to make x the subject. So y is equal to x squared minus 8x add 7. Now with the quadratic, it can be quite tough to see how we're going to rearrange it because we've got too many x parts in there. But all you have to do is complete the square. So y is equal to x minus 4, all squared, take away 16, add 7. Y add 9 is equal to x minus 4, all squared. X minus 4 is equal to plus or minus the square root of y add 9. And x is equal to 4 plus or minus the square root of y add 9. And so then we just replace our values. So we've got g to the minus 1 of x is equal to 4 plus or minus the square root of y add 9. And that is our inverse equation. And we're asked to state the domain and range. So the domain is x can be any real number so long as x is greater than minus 9, because that was the range of our original function. So the range and domain swap with the inverse. And for the domain, we can say that the inverse can be any real number. However, it must be greater than 4, because that was the domain of our original function. So there we've got our equation and we've got our domain and range.